Yo, everybody. What an amazing lead in by Frank that was. Very
Yeah.
nice. Anybody portal jumping over here from the Frank's channel? We're very happy to have you. I'm
Yeah.
Zach. This is Aaron. We're attempting to
Hello.
expand understanding and figure out what that means at the same time.
Yeah.
So, very good to
Oh, I
see
got
everybody
I got
here
a good quote
tonight.
for that.
I want to second what Frank is saying just about
Yeah.
this same kind of place right here. This is a rock for consciousness. Always the same place, always a safe space for the consciousness, always a safe space to be yourself, always a safe space to explore new things and not be judged
Mm.
while you do it. And
Yeah.
that's what we're really trying to create here. It really doesn't matter what everybody else is going to do with the world. If we generate a tight knit community and we operate in the way that we want to, we can generate our own little world inside of it. There is way too
Yep.
much land on this earth for them to stop that from happening. If we shed the attachments of where that is specifically located, we can generate any
Yeah.
type of microcosm that we would like inside of this macrocosm. We are going to be doing that regardless. We are very excited to hopefully have as many of you as possible along, because the more the merrier, really, in this case. And
Yeah.
the entire focus is towards actually living a life that we enjoy, and that can be done a lot easier than oftentimes we act like it can. And we see little microcosms of that with these shows and with the communities that are around here already, and with the way that they're working together. This, like, a lot of people already engaging with this community. I've seen a large enhancement in their life, and engaging with Frank's community over the last several years. This is
Yeah.
only going to grow, everybody.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
I'm not sure if you understand how fractal dynamics go, but this thing is one size right now, and now it's just progressively building bigger and bigger. I have literally a list of 1,000 things that I can do inside of my head to build this community larger. I just literally don't have the time to do them. A lot of that is because I'm spending my time enjoying my life. But a lot of what I like to do to enjoy my life is create a good space like this, and a space where people can really actually just be themselves, free from these any kind of rules that tell you that you can't be something. These are malarkey. These aren't real. You can be
It's
whatever you want to
malarkey.
be. So I'd like to welcome everybody here on the first step to being whatever the hell it is that they want to be, because
Come on.
every single step that you take, every day that you live is a new day in your life, and you're always taking the first step towards being the thing that you want to be in the future from what you could see right now. So thanks for taking that
Mm.
step with us. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks for being part of communities. Thanks for caring about yourself. Honestly, at the end of the day, never mind all this stuff. Thanks for
Yeah.
choosing to care about yourself. Because at the end of the day, when every single person on the earth cares about themselves, they'll have no reason to hurt anybody else, and we'll already live in the utopia that we want. So
Come
we don't
on.
need to change the earth. We don't need to change the people. We don't need to run away from it. We don't need to fight it. Everybody needs to just care about themselves. So thank you for caring about yourself. Really do appreciate it. Honestly, Aaron, thank you for caring about yourself. Sorry I always come in on a soapbox, but like, I'm pumped up for life, dude. Like, I'm
Come
doing
on,
this.
man.
Like, I'll do
Yeah.
it by myself. Like, I'm 100% doing what I'm talking about, and I just invite everybody to come with me, and I'm pumped up every single day, like, so much. So,
Yeah.
Aaron, what's going on, man? It's Saturday. It's 6/6/2020. That's a cool number. It's my birth
It is.
month.
I know. You
That's
say it like
cool
every
to
day.
me
I love
because,
that, man.
oh dude, I'm so happy to be done
Awesome.
with like this solar return year. I knew when I was like 9 years old that, like, the year you're 36, that's going to be some turbulence, you know?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
whew, I was right. Whether I built that for myself or whether that was just the reality of my life, it would ended up being the reality of my life. But
Yeah.
I'm really happy that the turbulence was there, because really, honestly, it's just projected me to another dimension, and it's really illuminated to me how easily it will be to really like share that with everybody else. And that's really a piece that's always been missing for me. Like, I've wanted to be a part of a really like tight knit team, but I realized in many ways how
Mm.
I wasn't really the team player that I needed to be in order to be part of that. And through a progressive growing of that over the last several years of my life, I found myself in a place where I really feel like I can like take the strides that are really how I can be most effective, and still at the same time be like pushing this team agenda that's never really focused on me. And I feel good about it all the time in on like
Mm.
all dimensionalities. I feel like it's doing something that I want to do. I feel like it's doing something that's of service to other people, that's beneficial for other people. It just all around feels good, even when I'm just like sitting there playing with noises by myself. Like,
Mm.
it's all aligned. Everything is aligned. I've been working for 20 years to get every single thing in my life aligned with the same thing, and it's all aligned. It's all in the same line. Literally nothing that I do deviates away from the plan. Frank talks about trusting the plan. Ooh, we don't even have to trust the plan. We are the fucking plan. Every
Mm.
single minute of every single day, I am the fucking plan in the same line, and I am. It is wonderful. It is wonderful. So trust it, be it, embody it, be the plan that you wish to see in the world, and it will come to fruition before your eyes. I assure you, especially inside of this vortex. I'm so psyched, dude. Whew. You know,
I
okay,
love
so
sitting in
like
your
I don't really
excitement.
like
It's
to talk
wonderful.
about they and such, but they usually win. And in the last couple of little battles, they have most certainly not won. And it is wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. It is the first steps up a new fucking pyramid entirely. And oh my gosh, it is just going to be beautiful. So, like,
I love to hear
oh,
you articulate and externalize the internal reality I've been living in for quite a long time, and it's beautiful to be able to manifest this dynamic and actually see it in 3D. And everyone who's in here, everyone came over from Frank's show too. Fucking great. So we got Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. Feather Cohen. That's new. You're new. Alyssa Brittany. I think you guys are new. First time here. Thank you for coming. Nick Bravo. Great to have you. We've got Sasha, Paranormal Portals, Kevin, and Project Shadow Stalker. Awesome. Welcome. Willow and Linda. So Linda Light, another first timer. Cool, man. Look, it's just blending communities. I think we had like 5 or 6 people from our show go over to Frank's interview last night after the show. We're participating in there, and then a bunch of us are going to show today, and then a bunch come over here. It's just fucking cool, man. Just building an
yeah,
internet community, man. Different people of
we
the
got
world,
it.
same hearts.
We got to band together. Man, it's the only way it's going to happen. We're never going to achieve the goal through separation, only through unity. And
Hmm.
so all we got to do is figure out how to cohere with each other. That doesn't mean we got to change each other. That doesn't mean we got to be something specific. It means that at the very core level, we have to at least figure out how to accept and tolerate the fact that other things are a little bit different than our way, and that's kind of the beauty of it. If we can do
Hmm.
that all in one space, we don't have to change shit. Shit does not need to be changed. If you're not as pumped up as me, I'm posting a link in the chat right now. Just feel free to go listen to like 10 to 20 minutes of this mix that I just linked and then come back to this chat. I assure you, you will be equally as pumped up as me. What a wonderful piece of music. Also, Aaron, I'm going to have to link that to you as well. You're going
Yeah,
to need to
please.
listen to that. Kevin, you
Okay.
should listen to it too.
You talked
Kevin's
me into
heard
it.
so much of this guy in his life, 100%. This is Logistics doing live mix on Radio 1, but Logistics is kind of like the place, the guy where drum and bass had dubstep kind of turn out of it. But Logistics never
Okay.
turned all the way. Like some elements that Logistics added to the drum and bass, dubstep like made the entire genre that like the whole song is that stuff, right?
Awesome.
And but with Logistics, he still has like those drum and bass elements, right? And then he also on top of that though has some more of the like, well, kind of like the dubsteppy sounds in there too, but that dubsteppy sound with him really adds just like a lot of variation and play, keeps it super fresh. I mean, like it's never the same thing for longer than like
Awesome.
8 bars, but it's
Cool.
always like similar. And it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
working with like the same kind of synth and the same kind of processing on the same kind of sound in the same like in the same key, but with different chord progressions and sometimes like reversed. And there's just like, you know, since you got a little bit more syncopation in the like the bass lines and the stuff, there's more room to kind of play with that. Like it's really just tremendous. Like it's really just great. If you don't like this music, I understand. Okay, like it's a lot to take in. It's got a lot of elements. I totally understand, but like oh my gosh, it's so good. I was listening to it on like the drive back. It had me where like I wasn't even paying attention to driving. I was literally like leaning into the middle of my car with my ear turned towards my stereo, like somehow that makes it louder or something, and like listening to all these little elements and like exactly what I wanted to change was changing inside of the track. I was like, this is fucking amazing. This is exactly what I ever wanted. Like it's so good.
Right.
And it just so
Right.
inspired me to do a whole bunch of stuff. And then on top of that, that was right on the back of getting like all kinds of these fucking cool loops and shit. They gave me a bunch of
Yeah.
neat ideas off of Loop Cloud and stuff. Like, whew. I'm so excited about sound. Link in the group chat. I can do the link in the group chat too. Well, one of them. I'll put it in the expanded understanding family one that has just enormous amounts of hearts in it right now. Um, that link should work. The specific, you know, it's more standard DNB at the beginning, and then right around like 12 minutes he mixes into a track that I'm pretty sure is probably made by him because it has all the elements of his stuff. But
Uh-huh.
he then he goes to there's like a solid like 5 to 8 minute period of him, that track, all of its elements, and leading out to the next one, it goes back to some more stereotypical DNB kind of style. But
Uh-huh.
oh, I mean, I'm sure the whole mix is great. I got to like 20 minutes of it, and then got to my house, and then got Joe, and then listened to the same part with him again, and then it was
Yeah,
8 o'clock, and so I'm very much so looking forward to listening to the rest of it. So,
awesome.
um,
Fucking great, man. I can't
unite
wait
the
to come out
tribes
there
for
again.
the
It'll be awesome.
optimum timeline. The
Yeah,
tribes are united,
big
regardless
time.
of whether I mean they are on a certain plane. They are already united. Like it cannot actually be stopped at this point in time, and it never could really. This is just the progression of consciousness. This is how it was always going to go, anyways. Like it, we always thinking that it's all fucked up or that it's not going to work out or that it's broken and it needs change and shit is like a lack of trust in the universe. Like, this is a miraculous machine and it's fucking, for all intents and purposes, perfect. Like,
Yep.
it's not broken.
Yeah. Just
We
gotta
are
work
in
it.
different places inside of it, and the more that we learn to like tolerate, accept that, feel really good with it, like, and just like appreciate the uniqueness of other people, appreciate just the novelty that comes with something being different. Like, when we put all these things together, everything's great. Like, everything's great, even though there is a lot of situations that maybe you morally disagree with that or something like that, and you haven't moved past those things. There's all kinds of learning and wonderful things to happen inside of that, and so everything's great. Bass Nectar, I mean, he definitely has a lot of like good drops and stuff. You like dubstep, you probably like Bass Nectar. I'm more of a DMB guy myself, and Bass Nectar really went heavy into the dubstep for sure. But I
Mm.
understand why people appreciate him. The guy understands like a drop and a lead and all these kinds of things
So, will you
really, really
elaborate, or
well.
will you elaborate to me the difference between where drop step is its own unique thing and why it is? I mean, dubstep.
Dubstep. Um,
Dubstep.
how do you really elaborate with this?
Why would you? How would you differentiate that between regular D and B, quote unquote,
Okay, so
regular?
DMB really like naturalizes elements still. Like, when you have this like boom boom tick tick boom tick boom boom tick tick boom tick that's like riding over the top of it or whatever. It's very much so like a set of drums, and you can tell that it's a set of drums. And nevertheless, it has a lot of like naturalized elements. Dubstep in the modern day moves entirely towards like basically everything is synthed out. You very rarely actually even hear like a naturalized element. It's very digital, right? Dubstep is a
Hmm.
little bit slower than drum and bass as well, even though like because it has so many variances, it feels like it maybe even might seem faster in the changes, but really like dubstep is fucking really what, like, he's talking about the wobble, right? Like, an
Hmm.
iconic thing of dubstep is this womp 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 womp, like this wobbling inside of the sounds. That's very much so like a dubstep thing. In drum
Okay.
and bass, that's usually carried out. So like the low ends of drum and bass are usually ridden longer, like boom,
Okay.
right? Because the hats and the drums over the top of it are so complex, right? Boom boom tick tick doodle tick tick boom boom tick tick doodle tick tick
Right.
boom
Right.
boom tick tick doodle tick tick, right? Like, it's very complex over the top of it, filling a lot of space on the low end. So this is very fast on the high end. And to
Hmm.
create spacing for like melody and the other elements, the low end goes much slower, right? So you have this like boom boom tick tick boom tick boom boom tick tick boom tick over here, and this creates basically also this other layer of sonic landscaping, right? Where basically there's a large space in between the rate, kind of, because it's realize
Hmm.
everything's at the same tempo, but because it's hitting faster, it's hitting like eighth notes and shit, not just hitting on like every single note, right?
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
nevertheless, it's hitting faster. So you have what feels very rapid over what feels very slow, and a lot of room to play inside of the middle, right? And drum and
With
bass
D and
really
B.
keeps that separation. There's the drums and there's the bass. And then there's
Gotcha.
other shit in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of the way that I keep it in my mind. So dubstep still in many ways does the same thing in the sense that it has fast elements, slow elements, but all this space in between is generally done with a lot of synthetic, like the wobble, right? The
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
like, and that's kind of like all over the place inside of
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and that like maintains the intrigue, but then you still like you build through all of this to still generate like the drop, right? And it's still
Yeah.
very much so about that time where like the new baseline is incorporated and kind of every other element builds around that. And so the primary thing is like really like he was saying back here, 140 BPM. I clicked the wrong thing. Well, this is one of the things. The wobble
Hmm.
and 140 BPM. If it has the wobble and 140 BPM, it's probably going to sound like it's a dubstep track because
Mm.
everything really like kind of fits into that. Drum and bass generally done a little bit faster, 175, 180s, 185 even sometimes, really high tempo like that, but with like bass lines that are carried out over multiple beats rather than being like
Mm.
whoomp 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 whoomp. It's whoom, whoom, boom. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
drawn out longer because it's
Yeah,
creating
yeah.
the spacing between these drums that are in the top basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, camera quality isn't good on my end ever because I have an absolutely dog shit connection. Thank you, Riverside, California. I appreciate you very much. Question: Have either of y'all experienced Heilung? Yes, I've definitely experienced this. Have you listened to them at all?
I no, not them yet. No.
Okay, they have an interesting style. It's like a very like a Nordic group, right? And they use a lot of like chanting and well, kind of it's
Cool.
a very
Fuck
like
yeah.
Nordic style, but then
Love that
also it's
shit.
still very like hard with the bass and pretty high tempo kind of thing. It's like it's definitely it's again like a fine wine, right? Like some people probably either like it or they're like, "What the fuck is this?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like, it definitely has really interesting elements. The stage presence of them is really interesting too, because they're all very like Nordically dressed and
Yeah, no
sometimes like
shit. I'm
holding
looking at it right
shields
now.
and kinds of crazy shit
Yeah.
like this. Move north, Zach, yeah, or really anywhere near a fiber drop would be great. Texas or Oklahoma would be fine. Get some Google Fiber, 1 gig up and down. Don't mind
Yeah,
if I
no
do.
doubt. Yeah, don't mind
That'd
about
be
you.
great. Yeah, better connection will come with wherever I move next. When I moved here, I wasn't streaming anything at all. Like I was basically
Right.
not even using upload on a connection, and now my house uploads like 5 gigs a day. So
Uh-huh.
could really use it now, but nevertheless, it is what it is. Here is where I am right now. I can turn this thing off and be a little globe that says this and then change this to this and then it
Oh,
is my
fancy.
face static.
But your real
Neo
face is better.
Norse. Yeah,
Even a
Neo
little
Norse
blurry.
is an interesting way of calling it. Yeah, I guess I could see it as that, as like a Neo Norse would be good.
Yeah.
So
Cool. I subscribed and I added to playlist, so I'd definitely be listening to that. Thanks, Alice. Was it
it's
okay?
interesting.
Alyssa Brittany or Alyssa Brittany?
Yeah,
But thank you.
I like drum and bass a lot better than it personally. But I like
I love the
I know a lot of
nuances.
people that like it. I know a lot of people that
Yeah.
like it.
Well, like I
I
love
don't
yeah.
dislike it either. It's just not a thing I would put on. I've a lot of things like the Norse methodologies. They've just never really clicked with me. It's just which is I don't know. It's interesting, you know. Several of my basically my last two longtime girlfriends for the last like 13 years of my life, I've lived with a person who's primarily like Scandinavian lineage. And that's like for some reason I like totally don't resonate with that. It's pretty weird. Pretty weird.
Because you yeah,
I
all
don't. I
right.
know. It's not because of that. It's just really weird that like the idea of like runic divination, druidic magic, really
Yeah.
just the whole like Norse esoterics, not that
Mm,
appealing to me and such. Like I understand it. I have like dipped my toe into it. Like Gregorian chanting is probably the thing that I think is the coolest. And one thing
mm,
that I really like about the Heilung is that they use a lot of this chanting, but it
yeah.
is in that like Norse aggressive style, not like the
Yeah, yeah,
Gregorian chant, but like I'm not gonna try and copy the dude because it's not my style. Like I don't resonate with it, right? You know what I'm saying? So nevertheless, yeah, like it's definitely cool and it's got its own thing, and I definitely like that it's not what anybody else is doing, or at least not too many people. for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Dead Mouse. Yeah, we were actually we watched like a whole. It was only 2 episodes or something that we were watching some video of like Dead Mouse's studio and stuff, and basically all
Huh.
drooling over it entirely because it's got to be worth I don't know dude, $10 million, 15 million, 20 priceless. It's priceless. Like some of the
Yeah, it's
things
pretty
are
sick.
just like no one else has it. So how much are you really gonna charge for it? So it's so great. Um,
Said Elsa Brittany said to my lineage, so I'm so emotional when I see how long that I cry. It's cathartic. Yeah, totally. Like I feel like for the Norse thing, I don't know if there's some lineage specific in mind, but yeah, I super resonate with that music. Like when I hear the Norse
yeah.
stuff and the really well done, the drums, like it definitely. It's funny you say like the aggressive tones. Because like when I was serving years, like 10 years ago, server at Red Robin or whatever, I was going up to a table of a bunch of like really attractive girls. And they're I don't know 20s or something, and as I
Mm-hmm.
walked up, they're all speaking German. And it
Oh.
was just this, like it was so like unattractive, just coming out
Mm-hmm.
of like it's just funny because it just it resonates with different people the way you grew up or whatever, you know.
Yeah, like Linda's saying here, no lineage most likely. Very possible that just like it's just not for me. It's weird
Yeah.
because I'm like I'm tied up all over the other place. Like not it's not just genetic lineage that applies to that for sure. Because
Mm,
like I find extreme interest in like all of the Egyptian and Kemetic timelines, everything that
mm,
has to do with basically India all the way back to the Vedic roots, really or really aligned with like Buddhism, and so China, Asia, Japanese kind of cultures as well, and then even like farther into Africa is South American, Amazonian, and I'm listing all of these because I have no heritage associated with any of those, but I deeply resonate with all of them and have spent years and years and years with their storylines, like literally lived my whole life at some point in time through each one of those lenses. And but the Norse thing, it just never clicked with me. We got really close, quite a few
yeah.
times, but it's not so much
Just didn't
all
work
the way
out.
there. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess you can't be the, maybe the whole thing. I've always thought that like, I probably like I would learn a lot from dipping into it, and that's why I
Yeah.
have dipped into it. I see the connections like right away, a bunch of them. That
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, they definitely got their shit in here. That's for sure. So it works. I'm
Yeah.
sure it works. So,
Yeah.
but it's just never been like a major thing. Brazilian
Lexi said,
capoeira, I
yeah.
think, is amazing. The idea like a dancing fighting style, it's so cool, and the form of
Cool.
movement is so efficient as well that it's like it's super cool, and the entire idea of it is based around the movement of monkeys too, so it's basically a practice of animism, so it's pretty
No
cool.
shit.
Yeah, and also like someone who's really good at capoeira will probably beat that ass if you aren't really well trained in fighting. Like it's a pretty solid fighting style.
Yeah.
So, and it's very a very evasive and deceptive form of fighting because it has
Huh.
a lot of like side to side movement all the time standardized inside of it, and a lot of movement that has to do with basically twirling, which is really good for like basically being evasive while you set up a counterattack that
Hmm.
comes from an unexpected position. So if you're not used to fighting or you don't know capoeira yourself, someone who does capoeira is going to attack you from places where you're like, wait, what the fuck? You just kicked me from over there? Like, I thought he turned away from me, and next thing I knew, I had his heel in the back of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
kind of situation. So it's really cool though, because it's a dance style, it's a fighting style, it's an animism style, it's a fucking brotherhood. It has a kind of
Yeah.
music that goes behind it. It's all like drum oriented music, very much so. Like that driving rhythm of like the tribal drum kind of sits behind capoeira. So it's amazing. Wing Chun also amazing. Just the study of the idea of Chi Sao alone, which is a practice format of Wing Chun that has to do with basically the idea of like pushing hands, pulling hands, and void hands, and the understanding of these
Mm,
three different formats of operation, and the way that you practice with another person with that, the understanding of the body and movement and efficiency, and all these kinds of things that come with that. Like, if someone knows Wing Chun and Capoeira, you better hope they're not mad at you. Because like if they want to physically assault you, you're in trouble, dude.
game
Like
over.
you're in trouble. These are very strong, especially together. So and they'd look really cool together because Wing Chun's all about like basically having arms rotating as blocks in front of you, and Capoeira is all about like basically moving side to side and then spinning as well, like a lot of spinning and moving side to side. So there'd be like a bunch of this like up and down facing you rotation happening, and there would be also this like side to side twisting rotation happening. So the combination of those two styles would just look like so cool. Like, so not only would the dude probably whip your ass, he'd also look dope doing it. Like, jeez, what more can you ask for? You know what I mean? So definitely super cool. Wing Chun, Chi Sao, like you'll learn so much about yourself studying Chi Sao. It's just unbelievable.
I
I
never heard
still
of it.
learn from it all the time.
What was
So
the style? What was the style of Ip Man? Do you know?
Ip Man's good at a lot of styles. He's like a legendary martial artist. I don't know what his primary styles are because dude has about a million of them. But let's see, because we can just look it up and let's see. Yeah, his primary style was Wing Chun, which does is not surprising at all. Ip Man we spent some time teaching Bruce Lee and a whole lot of other very very good martial artists.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, he's definitely pretty heavily involved with wushu. The whole idea that he trained or even trained with Bruce Lee, like there's a ton of styles that get included basically with that. Like the idea behind Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's style. There's
Mm-hmm.
definitely like judo, definitely kung fu, definitely Wing Chun, Tai Chi, all kinds of like anybody who practices martial arts and is like legitimately from like China or something, they also do Tai Chi. Tai Chi is
Mm-hmm.
like how you stretch out, basically. So, nevertheless, like very much like a lot of things, but he was super good, super duper good. Wing
Yeah.
Chun was created by a woman. That doesn't surprise me really at all. I did not know that, but it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Linda said, I do my own version
Jeez.
of Tai Chi every
This
morning
is
with
crazy.
meditation. It's
Listen to this
wonderful.
girl right here. She is said to have
Yeah.
been a master of various martial arts, including the Shaolin martial arts, the Wudang martial arts, Ying Kung Fu, and Yu Ji Quan, and the family style of Yu Fei. She is also credited as the founder of the martial arts Wu Mei Pai, which is Ning Mu style, Wing
Wow.
Chun, Dragon style, White Crane, and five pattern Hung Kin. Like, holy
Awesome.
shit!
Yeah, no shit, man. Jesus.
What didn't you do? Like,
Wow,
wow.
good for her. That's amazing. Obviously that's what she came in to do. Apparently, and did it pretty well.
Jeez.
What's five animal? Lexi said five animal. Do you know what that is?
Uh, I mean, she might be referring to the five pattern Hung Kin. Might be what that is.
Mm,
Maybe it's five animal patterns. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
mm.
Scrolling quickly, trying to figure it out. Mm, I don't know. The Hungwa curriculum. It definitely has like some tiger stuff, crane stuff. Oh, five animal fist is in here. So it's some type of move.
With
Here we
five
are.
animals into one fist.
Five animal element, five element fist, otherwise known as in Cantonese Ng Ying Kun. These routines serve as a bridge between the external force of tiger crane and the internal focus of iron wire, which are two different styles. Five animals, literally meaning five forms, refers to the characteristic five animals of the southern Chinese martial arts: dragon, snake, tiger, leopard, and crane. Five elements refers to the five classical Chinese elements: earth, water, fire, metal, and wood. The Hung Ga five animal fist was choreographed by Wang Fei Hung and expanded by Lam Sai Wing, a senior student and teaching assistant of Wang Fei Hung, into the five animal element fist, also called the 10 form fist. Five animal, five element fist. So when you're combining the elements and the animals, apparently you end up with 10 forms. In the Lam Sai Wing branch of Hung Ga, the five animal, five element fist was largely but not entirely superseded has largely, but not entirely, superseded the five animal fist, which has become associated with Deng Fong and others who were no longer students when the five animal, five element fist was created. So
Hmm.
it's basically, again, it's really just a way of understanding movement that's combining animism, again, drawing functionally a movement or an understanding from a dragon, snake, tiger, leopard, or crane, and combining it with an understanding from one of the elements earth, water, fire, metal, and wood. For instance,
Hmm.
metal leopard, right? Like,
Hmm.
how could you understand that? Like, okay, so like a leopard scratches, right, with its claws, for instance. So you could think of the idea of like having your hands be very solid, right? And using that
Hmm.
to scratch at someone, you could understand this. And I don't know that this is one of them, but this is the way that you would basically kind of do this with your mind. That would kind of be like a metal leopard, you know what I mean? So, whereas a water leopard would do kind of maybe the same movements, but instead of holding the fingers tight, it would allow those to operate kind of more like slaps. So maybe like a water leopard would be better defensively, where a metal leopard would be better offensively, for instance. So this is kind of when you get these merging of animals and elements, or really even just pulling from animals inside of martial arts. This is the basic ideology that's going on behind it. Um, Lots of things in here. I do my own version of Tai Chi every morning with meditation. It's wonderful. It really is. Tai Chi is such an amazing meditation because it really like if you care about how well you're doing the movements and stuff, it's so good to like really have something to focus on, doing the movement very precisely, aligned with the breath, also thinking how the energy is moving through the body or moving around the body when you're doing that. It really has so many elements to it that allow you to really consume the focus that I think is amazing.
Hmm.
uh, Best way to get your alignments set each day. I I'm not sure if the kung fu after that is questioning if kung fu is that way. I'm not sure. I mean, I think the one that you're really passionate about and feels like it aligns you is probably the best way in the long run. I think anything that aligns your mind with your body, and especially if it then is in some way also aligning with your soul, then you're really getting kind of this firing of you on all different levels, and then they come into alignment with one another. But I think passion is the best vehicle, personally.
Hmm.
I've never seen Man of Tai Chi, Keanu Reeves movie. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm. Kevin
No.
has said it was great, but I haven't seen
Yeah.
it. Thinks that he's a bad
Apparent.
guy. Keanu's
Yeah.
playing the bad
Keanu Reeves
guy.
actually plays a bad guy. I'm not familiar with Bong Sao either. There's
Mm-mm.
so much like I'm not super skilled in these things. I know small amounts about them because people in my life have introduced them to me, but I'm by no means any kind of fucking master at any martial arts.
Hmm. Well, it's nice
Let's
taking
see.
principles
Okay,
from
so
martial arts.
Bong Sao basically, or wing arm, is a deflecting technique that features quite heavily in the Wing Chun forms. It's performed by rolling the forearm out and then raising the elbow up. Yeah, this makes sense.
Well, even just the theories inside martial arts and being applied to your own spiritual life or internal life. So, like Aikido, using the least amount
Yeah.
of force necessary to redirect energy that comes at you back in a way that's beneficial or functional for you, which has always
Yeah,
been a
okay. See,
cool.
this is where it's weird because I've like done a lot of chi sao with other people and just allowed myself to like intuit how to move and stuff. And you definitely do this a lot. What this thing is, this bong sao right here,
Hmm.
because it it's basically a way to block with the outside of your arm instead of doing the constant like uh, well, like a hand waving kind of idea of blocking all the time. This
Hmm.
allows you to like kind of roll with the elbow for that block first, right? And so totally like yeah, I don't know the names of any of this shit. That's cool. I know a new thing now. Ibong Sao. The
Hmm.
extent of my martial arts is wishful thinking. I dated people who knew it, taught it, and practiced it. I just love the idea. I'm like the same, honestly. Like, I mean, I've practiced it some, and being like a kid from the streets, obviously the ideas of like fighting were prevalent inside of my reality, and so I had interest in like the self-defense kind of aspect of it. But you know, certainly no like fucking grandmaster practice by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, wax on, wax off Tai Chi. Yeah, you can kind of get that same motion going inside of the Wing Chun Chi Sao movements with these like rotating blocks. Um, yeah, we could find a video of any of this stuff. There's a ton of videos of people doing this stuff. So,
Yeah,
um,
as well. That's what we're on tonight. Yeah, throw some of that up.
do.
And I agree, Will. There's nothing wrong with a bit of embarrassment between friends. Glad you're sharing in chat, Lexi. Agreed. All family here.
Okay, so here's a way that it's commonly practiced. These people aren't like masters or anything, but I'm sure they're still pretty good. Um, but one of the ways to practice this, or really is with your eyes closed, because it's really more about like feeling and knowing what to do and being able to intuit what's going to happen next based off of what just happened. So this is, I'll really just play the thing. I'm just going to bring it up full screen and we'll talk over the top of it so that we can see it best as possible.
Cool.
As you see up here, kids with excellent Wing Chun Chi Sao. Chi Sao is just a practice of these rotating blocks, like you'll see inside of here. The practice is pretty much the basic concepts of the upper body of Wing Chun, and is also used as like kind of an ideological format to explore the self in three different formats of either being like positive aggressive, negative defensive, or void neutral. So this is basically that practice, which is a very common practice inside of it. And so the whole idea with Chi Sao is not actually to attack or get through to the other person per se. Although if you were using it as a fighting thing, it would be about that. And apparently they're doing it to the level of where you get an advantage, you actually utilize it. It's
Yeah.
oftentimes just used as a practice technique where it's not really about successfully taking the other one. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
you just continue to practice. But also you can see how like I mean, it may look like at some point in time the other guy just lets him take him or something. It's not
Yeah.
really the case. Eventually he's just not fast enough and his arms get caught up, and that's the point where his weight is going to be able to be off. And so he's
Yeah.
very easy to trip at that point in time. Like
Yeah.
dude who
Beautiful.
has the white trim on his shirt is obviously the teacher. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So he's using things that the other guy isn't using, and he's very, very fast. You know,
Yeah.
he speeds up to the point where the other guy can't keep up. Or
Right.
it's altogether possible also that they were purposely being like defensive, offensive.
Sure.
So
Sure.
we'll see here. You know, these guys are obviously both extremely good. Okay, they did not see he tried to take him right there, the dude with no trim,
Yeah.
but basically failed at this. So yeah, it's chi force and balance. Yeah, very much so. Like I mean, chi plays a central role. Chi being the ability for a person to cultivate energy in the central dantian and project it into the three-dimensional reality for the means of active force. That's basically what chi is. So,
Hmm.
nevertheless, projecting of chi or utilization of chi is central to basically all Chinese forms of action. If you're doing action, chi kind of in a certain way you could say means action because it's active force that would bring
Hmm.
about it. So, you know, this balance again playing a central aspect to all of these ideologies and this like doing this stuff at this rate and like it's so hard. It is so hard. It takes just so many hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, it's cool that I mean, they obviously grew up. I mean, it's just things like that. It's like, well, I wish I grew up doing that because it'd be good to have that in your muscle memory and in your neurology. You know, to have those practices, and it's never too late for people to pick stuff
Sure.
up,
It's so much is about your muscle memory and stuff too.
right?
You know, you just have to it's about progressively getting a better and better understanding of how the body moves, how it works, and how it interfaces with another body, which is basically what all of life is.
No
You're
shit,
just
man.
doing it in a different format all the time. So,
Once seeing like these concepts too, because there's no religious ideology in it so much. A lot of it's more like philosophy of movement and all that stuff, all those other dynamics. So like, growing up going to church and stuff, I really benefited from, even though early on just taking in the stories, not, having necessarily tons of meaning attached to them, but then later in life, it brought back, I can call it muscle memory, but not in your muscles, but just in your memory, right?
Mm.
Things taken in that were incredibly valuable, and I had insights that people don't have because I just experienced certain things growing up in certain situations. And so stuff like this, to be able to, raise kids or raise an environment where this is kind of the more normal practice, obviously teach their
Mm-hmm.
own, but like a more common practice growing up. I guess for at least the culture I grew up in, it wasn't common, Was it middle, upper class white America or something? Not very common.
Uh-huh.
But dude, this stuff is my soul, man. This is shit I definitely want to do. Like, I could have this as a regular practice in my life. It'd be fun to do with you, with Frank, different people. It'd be fucking fun, man. Do that shit regularly and just get better
Yeah,
at it
I
over
mean, like
time while
the
still doing
first
other
the
shit.
first year that you're doing it, it will basically here. Let me show you what it'll look like the
Yeah,
first year
yeah.
that you're doing it. Unless you want to basically be like smashing each other in the fucking face all
You
the
just
time,
put it on. You just
it'll
put it
look
on
like
quarter
this.
speed. Yeah, no
Quarter
doubt.
speed right here.
No
This is
doubt.
what rate you do it at for the first like 3 years that you're doing it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
intense because like just to even learn how this stuff rolls together and how to be in the
Right.
position to basically even defend against whatever the next movement is like very, very difficult, you know?
Yeah.
So
Beautiful. I'm glad you slowed down. Yeah, that's a whole different deal. I mean, it's the same
realize
thing.
like
It's
at a
just
certain point in time they start striking, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
then
yeah.
these are being used as true blocks instead of just rolling on each other. You know what I mean?
Right. Awesome.
Quarter speed is real. And then if you
Yeah, no
like
doubt.
Bruce Lee, you do it at this speed right here.
Yeah, no shit.
You down, boom, you're done. You're on the ground.
Or it's really like even though he's mainly a movie star, whatever, he's done all his own stunts and everything. Jackie Chan, like some of his movies came out in the '90s and early 2000s when he's doing like a one of those Wing Chun blocks or dummies, the wood blocks. Or I don't
Sure.
know if it's Wing Chun, but whatever. Like it's insane how fast he is. And I think who's another one came out shortly after him, Jet Li, which is a whole
Uh-huh.
other deal. I mean, I know these are just main TV guys or movie guys, but yeah, the skill set's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, these guys started out as martial artists first, and then
Right?
became this like because of Bruce Lee, really, and like his work in the Green
Yeah.
Hornet and other stuff like
Yep.
this. There became kind of this emergence of like, let's get the martial
Oh yeah.
artist, and he'll be able to do really good stuff. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
Jackie Chan was great. Jackie Chan's hilarious. He's just like a really cool human being, like seeing all that outside the regular movie, the extra footage and the behind the scenes stuff and different stuff with him. He's just a really cool person, he seems like.
Yeah. Huh. Did you know that Jackie Chan is a member of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference? Whatever that means.
I was about to say no, but what is that?
I don't know. It's
No,
crazy.
neither. It's a good fact though. Did you know?
See, he was
Jackie
born in
Chan.
'54. I guess you could say that he started acting like right away. He began his career by appearing in small roles at the age of 5 even.
Huh.
But that was
Jackie
in like
Chan?
nine so that would have been 19 it says 1962, but age of 5 would have been 59.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same time that, Bruce Lee was doing that. He was really being famous, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
no
actually was a
kidding.
stuntman in some of the Bruce Lee films,
I
Fist
do.
of
Yeah, I
Fury and
remember him
Enter the
talking about it.
Dragon.
Yeah, yeah. I remember him talking about it in the way like that Bruce Lee was on stage and all that stuff. Yeah, so he started working with him or under him, and then he came his own little movie star thing 2 decades later.
Is he actually good at martial arts? Like I'm looking through his Wikipedia and I'm not seeing where he actually is good at martial
Jackie
arts.
Chan?
Yeah.
I,
Nothing in
I
here
don't
says
know. He
anything
seems
about
seems
his
to be.
martial arts training.
That's weird. I don't know. I know he does all his own stunts and stuff. You see behind the scenes, like he wants everything very, very real. Like so, it's a much doesn't look all stunted and whatever. And he does all his own stunts and so I don't know if he's great at martial artist. He's great at. I mean, he seems to be. He can't fake that shit. It doesn't mean he's got some massive training and somebody else couldn't whoop his ass that you've never heard of, but it's pretty impressive, man.
I'm very
Though
confused.
it doesn't look like movie magic. Some of some scenes are just like the only reason it looked good. It had nothing to do with the actor's abilities. It had to do with the stunt man and the way they shot the scene. But Jack Chan stuff was always pretty real. I think one of them he broke his foot and they made a rubber shoe that he put on over his cast so it looked like a regular shoe from distant scenes or whatever. And because he still was doing all his fighting scenes and everything.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what's Frank asked, did he not grow up in a Shaolin temple training? I don't know.
I'm checking right now. I'm seeing it. Okay, so
Oh, and I will comment second this. Sasha said Willow is our favorite admin. Yes, Willow is also our only admin, but yes, she is our favorite. Rumble in the Bronx. Yeah, man. Fucking love those movies. Yeah, Frank knows what's up. Did I give you warm, gushy feelings, Frank, when you saw Jack Chan in Rumble in the Bronx? They're old.
Why is
Right, that would
this
have been.
so hard to find out?
Yeah, it's history. There's nowhere. It's not on Wikipedia or nothing. Now it doesn't come up easy.
That's exactly what I'm asking about. Okay, studied kung fu. Hang on, maybe this says here.
Frank said, "Fuck yeah."
Jackie Chan answered somewhere. When I was young, I learned Southern style, Northern style. Then after that, I learned Wing Chun, Hapkido, karate, boxing, all kinds of things. So he knows all kinds of stuff, but he's not like specifically focused into anything.
Yeah. Huh. Frank said, "Too bad it was filmed in Canada, though." Yeah, that sucks, huh? Rumble in the Bronx, filmed in Canada.
And just to be clear, this was when he responded on Quora. Specifically, Jackie Chan responded to the question, what martial art styles does Jackie Chan know? With that, when I was young, I learned these. Then after that, I learned Wing Chun, Hapkido, karate, boxing, all kinds of things. So he didn't say like I'm a black belt of this, that, or the what, anything like that.
Lexi said Frank was an extra on Rumble in the Bronx when they kicked him off the Mickey Mouse Club. Yep.
What was
it's
that?
in the movies, guys. Well, Frank was in the Mickey Mouse Club, or would have been earlier on, and they kicked him off because he's too fat back in the day.
Kicked him off because he was too fat.
Yeah, he said, I was the fat kid. Love that shit.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure his training around all of that and the fact that he's done a lot of stunts, done a lot of choreography. He's basically like practiced a ton. He hasn't won like awards and shit like that for actually, actually fighting. But I'm sure he'd beat my ass. You know what I mean? Like he's probably studied quite a lot just so that it was good for his movies and shit. I mean, he's won a fucking ton of awards for doing stunts and
no
shit.
shit.
You know what I mean? So. I'm sure he's pretty nasty. He's just, not focused enough to be some kind of super specialist or whatever.
All right, and so we'll fill in some people on the inside chat lingo here because Will said, "I'm a dragon." Actually, thank you very much, Sasha. Sasha said, "Fuck you." Fuck you means I love you. Just understand that. So when you see that in there, these aren't harsh terms. This means I love you. It's also hodate, I think, or yodate. Yep, it's good shit. It's family love, family lingo, just so you know. Oh, Willa said she was a fat kid too. Dude, I was a fat kid too. I got super fat in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And then I shot up. I grew like 5 inches in a year and lost 90 pounds. And then it was better.
So, I want to watch a quick video to pay homage to someone that was pretty important to my life, even though I have dissolved all contracts with this individual at this point in time. I do really appreciate him for his martial arts. This was the person that I lived with from the age of like 10 to 11 or something like that, 9 to 10, 11 to 12. I don't remember. It was somewhere around that. He's the one who introduced me to Qigong, Tai Chi, Wing Chun, all kinds of stuff like that. But there's a video here that's like a 5-minute and 22-second video, and it's apt to the conversation on this channel because it is titled George Zhu Lecture on Spiritual Connection with the Opponent. And it's about the importance of your spiritual connection, but not a physical, structural strength connection with your opponent. And he demonstrates the power of spiritual connection in controlling your opponent. So it's his angle on martial arts is outside of the norm for sure, but he is a multi-time gold medalist in the Chinese Tai Chi competitions, and he is considered one of the best Tai Chi masters in China that is operable at this point in time. So we're going to go ahead and bring that video on and listen to Master George Zhu talk about spiritual connection with the opponent. It's awesome. I checked the audio and it's a little bit reverby, but it's the best we can do. And I'll put a link also if people feel like it's something they want to watch.
Cool.
With their own, even though the sound should be basically exactly the same. So here we go.
Nobody can stop you. When it's going down, nobody can stop you. And that's it. So the key is martial arts, in theory, in the future, is two very important in Chinese style. One is 任我行, do whenever I want. The meaning is, if I want to go left, you cannot stop. I go up, you cannot stop. I go down, you cannot stop. I go, whenever I move, you cannot stop. That's sort of 任我行. And this is very important. So you cannot lock me from you lock me, you cannot. Okay? You cannot close me, right? You go more. Thank you. More. Okay? You cannot close. Lift me. Lift. Okay? And lift. Okay? You lift me. You cannot. Okay? Push me down, kind of like this. Okay? Push me down. You cannot. So what you can do? You cannot do anything. You cannot push down, you cannot lift, you cannot squeeze. You understand? You cannot do anything. Now with touch, I can do anything I want. I can do anything I want. Because you cannot do anything to stop me. This is very important, right? The second one in Chinese Kung Fu is very important, is they are not do the technique. They need to just touch. As soon as you touch, go, okay? You touch, he shoot you. Or I touch you, shoot you too. So I just need to touch. I don't leave you. But I'm not shoot from hand. I shoot from body. Understand? So just need to touch. Any position, just like here. Just touch. As soon as touch, you don't leave me. I will not try to do something this. No. With this, I leave you. As soon as I touch, I just shoot you here. As soon as I touch you, it's just right away here. Just right away. Where touch, where go. Don't change the technique. And that's the Chinese style. In the future, in anywhere you touch, in theory, you're finished. Physically, not. Then also you can have spiritual part touch, which is connect and not connect. Mentally connect, physically not 100%. So they have three different power touch. But in the future, when you use, actually you have to use the mental level. You cannot use the physical level. Because when you're physical level, you connect, you limit yourself. So first, you are on yourself. So you're not on your enemy. Because you connect on yourself. So yourself, tough, connect. Second one, second one you're exposed. Once you connect, you're tough, you have good structure. You unit, he move one here, just pull you one here, your whole thing will go. Because you connect. Once you connect, they just touch one here, you go. So you punch people, maybe you kick people, you connect, you yourself bouncing out too. Okay? So this is the problem. So until you spiritual connect, but you're not connect, so he cannot find your center. He cannot find your structure. But you have, because you connect, you have unit force. So this now is a little difficult, but it's very important for high level, because the people, if not connect, is too weak, finished. If he's connect, he's too tough, he's finished. You're too tough, you can finish. Too weak, rub it, shit. You just go. So you are connect, but not connect. So your unit force, maximum power, but you don't find your structure. You know what I mean? So that's why power stretch in the future is very important, because you want to connect. You want unit force attack. But you don't want to feel my unit. You understand? So this one is touching to end.
So this is one of the primary things that I spent time talking to him about when he was with me, which was basically because I was completely astounded by the fact that I could feel the energy coming off of this guy when he would do martial arts, right? So I
Cool.
started asking him about like basically like what the hell is that? And the way that I got, because I questioned basically that exact same talk right there to a ways going like, what do you mean like connection without touching? Like that's not possible is basically the
Hmm.
space where I was in at that point in time. And like this fucking dude pushed me over from the opposite side of the room basically just by like
Awesome.
gathering force and then projecting it towards me, and like I wasn't like it moved me back, and like I mean you've
Yep.
seen videos where like this happens, you're like, oh, I don't know, might be fake. I fucking was the body inside the
Yep.
video, so there's no
Yeah.
question for me that it was not fake. And that kind of changed the entire conversation to like, wait a minute, what are we talking about? And the whole idea with this is that, so if he's talking about the unity force, right? So if you are separated into myself and my opponent, then when you feel their space, they can feel you connecting to them. But if you
Yeah.
connect to the unity field of you and them in the space, you get all of the information of them in the space without them ever being able to connect with you because you
Cool.
did not project into the space. You merely sampled the unity space. So it's
Cool.
about connecting with the environment around your opponent as opposed to pushing or pulling your opponent, which are the other two formats of connection, otherwise known as the concept of chi sao, void hands, right? Touching by
Yeah.
not touching, connecting without being connected. And that is done functionally through the spiritual plane, functionally through the idea of like what you could understand as like the magnetic field generated by your brain or your consciousness or your heart or whatever you want to associate it with, the toroidal
Yeah.
field that operates around you shares spaces with other people, and in that sharing the space can be sampled because it is a space of unity, and there's a lot of information about what's going to happen inside of that space that is already projected out before physicality, because realize if you're doing this spiritual connection, you're not inside of their mind, you're inside of the energy that is collecting that then goes into their mind, translates into their body, and then interfaces with you. So you're two steps ahead of their choice. Right? This is the entire point of sampling the spiritual space and then operating with intuition out of that space, because sampling that space is not the same as the logical sampling of physical connection. So
Yeah.
it's really just such a great concept. Couldn't be happier to have been introduced to it so young and to be in a place
Yeah.
where like I could actually at least retain it long enough to get something out of it. I when I
No
was
doubt.
originally interfaced with it, I was like, this is amazing, but fuck, it's so far beyond me. Right? Like I have
Yeah.
like no real
Yeah.
idea what's going on, but I just like I remembered every single thing that happened. I was so focused on like what the hell is going on here, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so yeah,
How old were
nevertheless,
you when you were there?
like I said, that was like it was either from like 10, 11, or 12, like somewhere inside of
Okay.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He stayed with us for several months. Yeah, he
Wow.
like taught classes just like that. You realize this guy makes
No
his money by
shit.
coming over to America and teaching old people Tai Chi. That's how he makes his money.
Wow.
Right? Like he flies over here, he does like a little 1 month over here, he collects $100,000 teaching like 20 different seminars, and then he flies back to China and hangs out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's just the way that he makes his money. That's why you see him in a room with a bunch of a bunch of people that are like in their 70s and shit. Like
Yeah.
it's not, like it's just a way that he makes his money. And one of the
Yeah.
times when he came over here on that, we basically organized the entire trip so that he would actually stay with us and work directly with us being predominantly my mom and my uncle Ross. They brought him over. I just happened to be around, right? And then
Cool. Yeah. Fuck
like
yeah.
because Ross had him, his wife, his two kids, we had like a complete extra bedroom available at our house, and my mom was willing to drive the guy everywhere that he needed to go. So he ended up
Cool.
just staying at our house. It was the most sensible place to stay. It was the most
Yeah.
that I ever saw my uncle Ross in like the entire time I ever knew the
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nevertheless, it was pretty amazing time. Like I learned so much from the guy that I didn't even learn while I was there. It was like it unfolded over my life, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
still probably unfolding in certain ways. Like this is where I first learned about the whole idea of like direct energy transmission and the idea of being basically like attuned or having the energy or the knowing basically of a style kind of given to you in a way that it will then emerge naturally on its own,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
So
still
it's
have a lot of
interesting.
roots with these. A lot of what I do dancing is actually drawn from Tai Chi, Wing Chun, various different martial arts styles like that, like
Yeah.
loosely. So, nevertheless.
Yeah, it's just the dynamic of you being around it when you were younger. Because the really cool families I've seen are people that talk about, turn out really cool human beings. One of the big things that their parents did was always have one thing when they'd have people over, they'd host people like that, missionaries or people that come in, really interesting people that come in, and they'd always invite the kids to be a part of the conversation or just be around for it. Like instead of making them leave the room or whatever, like to be around these interesting people, just hear their life story, hear their dynamic. And some of these kids, like it was the most impactful thing for their entire life, just to get that diversity at such a young age, just to experience different people because their parents were willing and intentional to host people in their home.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's a good way to go. People are very appreciative when you're giving them a place to stay. And then
Super.
also just like
Yeah.
that you get to spend so much time with someone when you're living with someone, even if it's for a short period of time, way more than you ever will be just like being friends with them or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like a
like
fucking
how
14 hours in one day.
Yeah. And on a quick note for the group, so they're asking where Jasmine was. Jasmine's good. She posted earlier in here. She was dropping by. She's just busy and wasn't able to catch the live, but she's going to catch the replay. But she's around, just so you guys know. Yeah, and being around people at when they're living with you for whatever period of time, and yeah, because you get to interact with them maybe in meals, you just get like it's the observation. Like it's nice, I think you probably appreciate this too, being kind of the person you are, just the observations of being around other people and just however they do their life in every part of the day. Who can, like, no judgment, just really interested. I mean, we all figure out little ways and little habits and conscious, subconscious, unconscious that we do just function in life, and so it's just really
Mm-hmm.
fascinating being just being able to be around people and then observe. I guess they're being aware enough of the value of being around another person, especially if they're in your home for a short time, that they could do something totally unconsciously that is deeply profound for you and life changing, just because that's something they did and you wouldn't have known if they weren't around. It's cool shit, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you never know how like what kind of impact you're going to have on someone else's life. You know what I mean? Even if you
Yeah,
think that like, oh, I haven't learned anything, like I'm nobody special. It could be like something that seems just so simple to you, and just the way that your story approached it or whatever. When they hear it from you, they're like, oh, holy shit! Like that's
right.
exactly what I was thinking about. you know?
Yeah, or something I've never thought about before. Holy shit! And this random person just said some shit.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, just even an offhanded comment or whatever. I was watching today with my sister. We watched the what's it called, Coffee with Comedians. Jerry Seinfeld started a Netflix show where he meets up with comedians and just goes coffee and has chats, and it's a big produced show, but it's really interesting to see people in that dynamic. The first episode is Jim Carrey,
Mm-hmm.
and I love Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is like one of my favorite human beings on this planet. But just the dynamic of seeing them hanging out and the way Jim Carrey was just himself in public and interacting with people and being kind of goofy or weird, but just like he's just being himself,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see how people like that are not afraid to be themselves, goofy, weird, whatever that might be. It's very endearing a lot of the times, and people are like,
Mm-hmm.
well, my real self's an asshole. It's like, well, it's probably not your real self. That's probably your real self with some trauma and some, bad belief systems. But like being able to be around a place where you're not judged and you're just being, you can be whatever that is. It's a beautiful thing
Mm-hmm.
to see people embody that, especially people like him who's gone through Hollywood and seems to have had this pretty deeply, sincerely profound internal awakening over the last, I don't know, decade or so. And like part of the end of this episode, they went into his art studio, and he listen to what he said, Zach. So part of what he was, because art's become his thing, like the whole D&B thing that we're getting into, like art has become his thing, and like, and he loves it, and to hear him talk about it and all the different dynamics and different pieces or things he's done and his own nuances. But there's a table with, like, I mean, literally hundreds of tubes of paint on it, all the same brand, just different colors or whatever. And he like laid on top of it or whatever. And he said, "This is like the womb for me. All the
Mm-hmm.
colors, right? Beautiful." Because I talk about womb space a lot. Just he said, "This is like the womb for me." and all the colors to be able to create and paint your life or your existence, but in that safe womb space or in constant rhythm or yeah, I don't know. It's cool shit, man.
Yeah, it's important for people to feel like they are safe and that they can be accepted in a space. Otherwise, they do not try new shit. They get very structured and rigid and want to play very close to the chest. And playing close to the chest really just leads to like being all anxious and tight and yucky. It's no good. It's ew.
Yeah. It is ew. Yeah. It just feels like ew. Will said, mushrooms have helped me ground in my body and be more playful. Huh. Makes sense. Yeah, like I was saying the other night with I mean, I don't know, sometime in the last few nights. I don't know. We're on day 47 here. They're kind of blurring together. But the one of the recent times done mushrooms and just that overwhelming feeling in that time. I was just in my van and pulling over, and I was just gonna, lay down, close my eyes, and some other stuff, and just like remember, looking at my hands and being so insanely grateful, like kind of like a child, right? 1 day old, kind of not like I don't know what they are. I know what they are, but I was just so grateful that I have hands and they function, and that just whatever they look like, and the fingerprints are just so beautiful and grateful. And then my steering wheel, I was so thankful that my steering wheel could support my head, and I leaned my head on it, and it was just like getting the biggest hug in the world from somebody you haven't seen in a long time. It's like, oh, it's my steering wheel, it's supporting me, that's so nice. And just kept going to these things. It was beautiful, and I built like this whole like altar space kind of in my bed. It's winter more the other night, but I had a photo that I had just gotten that I hadn't had in a long time, and it had a lot of meaning to me, and I stuck that up at like the other end, so when I laid down it'd be at the head, and I was like, oh, I'll put something on the four corners, and I had different things like ashes I had in there from in a jar from different fires, and I just had different things that meant something so significant to me, especially in the moment. And I remember as I was setting them up, and then I looked back before I laid down, and I was like, Aaron, look what you made. Look how beautiful that is. Look what you did for yourself. Like, holy shit. Like, really. And just laid down and was so happy. So yeah, I guess that playful thing. I mean, definitely not every time with mushrooms, but certain times and certain times in my life, setting. I don't know. Just like that definitely felt that. It's beautiful. And I try to embody that every day.
Yeah, mushrooms help a lot of people be more playful, for sure. I mean, long run from higher doses and the release that definitely comes from some of the experiences you have there. But then also at the lower ends of the spectrum, like lower doses, they have a tendency to increase levity inside of a person's experience, making the experience just more joyful and funny. And I think both of these situations help us be more playful. There's also, of course, all the neuroscience aspects that they actually do things to kind of
For sure.
renormalize serotonin or dopamine production, things like this.
Wasn't it interesting too? If that's out of balance, that's why you'd be incredibly grateful. Like, it's your hands, you see them every day, but if your brain's firing in a way that you're taking in things in a new way, not just the routine of, oh yeah, those are my hands, and making the subconscious, unconscious thought, but bringing an awareness to my hands in a whole new way. Because I could have thought about my hands before that in that way, but I hadn't. I mean, I had conceptually, but to feel it, like an interconnectivity of sensations or thought processes. Kevin said, you told me that story. Thanks, Aaron, for not remembering. Yeah, that's right. It was the other night we were on the show. I said good times. Let's see. She said, there we go. Lexi says, never done shrooms. Do you grow your own or grow kids or pluck them out of cow shit? All of the above.
Most people buy them from other people.
Yeah, right now I buy them. I will be growing them at some point. That's in my future, 100% for sure. But yeah, usually buy them. Oh, Don said Aaron is a great laugh, and that is a frequency too. That's true. That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, there's all kinds of options for them. The easiest one is to definitely just buy them. Probably the best one to do if you're really looking to maximize the experience of learning inside of it would be to grow your own, but recognize that there's probably going to be a lot of failure that comes along with that and stuff like this. It really is an experience that teaches you a lot about yourself. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, like you said, love Aaron's laugh.
For just a second. I will be right back. I don't know where my phone is.
All right. No worries. Actually, I guess I can put the camera on. I turned the camera off after a while when Zach's not on because I'm like the only one on camera. And I know his little head bounces, but I'm like, come on. See, and we can actually switch because we can both control this in here in StreamYard, which is cool and really easy to join. So just so you guys know, in the live chat, especially if you're active in the live chat and you're participating and you have something interesting to say or whatever, want to come on and chat for a while, we're always open to do that. That's super fun. We do things like Scuffed Hamlet, and which looks like this with that background. And that was awesome. We have people, Sasha's in here, and then I think Arya Star was another one. She was on the Scuffed Hamlet, and then me and Zach and Jen, and we had like 4 or 5 screens on the thing. It was fucking great. It was super fun. It was really fun. And we're going to finish that. We did the first 2 acts. We are going to schedule to do that soon. Part 2. It'd be awesome. Okay, so pull this off. Go to this. Then do this. Wait, this. Aha. And let me see if I can switch. Perfect. Look, now it's right. ISN, expand understanding. Awesome. Okay, back chat. Talk to you guys. Hey. He said it was nice to welcome even a psychedelic virgin. That feels a lot. Moment to moment experience, all occurring live vibe. Yeah, beautiful. That would be me. I don't see much, but feel we all see. Yeah, that's let's see, let's go through some of these. What else to say? Let's keep reading. I just ordered some mushrooms online. We'll keep everyone updated with my experience. Wonderful. Yes, please do. Maybe you want to come on the show and chat. Now everyone is visual dawn. It's true. And that's beautiful. It is. I have a kit and it's locked and loaded to grow, but I've never done them and I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Ooh, maybe this conversation will lead you more in that direction. Obviously, you're already going that direction. So I've got stuff like that too. It's like you're just waiting for the right time, and but like I know it was the right time to have it available to myself. Where from? Okay, you guys chat about that. Let's see. So I'll just start 2 grams, weight on a scale, just suggestion. Yeah, there's a lot of if you message Sasha's had a lot of experience with mushrooms for the last 10 years, and she's been incredibly helpful in my own experiences. So she's a great person to talk to, different, depending on what you're going for, different ways to go about things. But it's always great to chat with somebody who's had experience and diversity of experience. So they have a lot of different additional perceptions that can be very helpful for you to find the one that works for you. I do them in all sorts of ways, at all sorts of times, and all sorts of days, because that's what works for me. She said, don't be scared, Linda. Don't be scared. You'll figure it out first. We're going to try them. It's, yeah. Okay, so let's see. They're chatting about that. 2G. Sue Will says 2G didn't do much for me. Everyone is different. It's true. It's a lot of different factors. And yeah, that's why it's sometimes like, see, for me, it's not just like, okay, I'm going to have a mushroom experience. It was like, more I do like installing myself and having them, it's like, okay, to have my holistic mushroom experience so I can feel like I know what mushrooms in general like for me in a lot of different ways and not just one experience. I need to do them, like I said, all different doses, all different times, all different things, so I could have a more circumambulated and intimate relationship with the entheogen in a lot of different environments. So like getting to know people too, not just knowing people from online or whatever, just personal interactions and conversations and their posts on social media, or just, I don't know, there's a lot of different ways to get to know people. But it takes multiple types of interactions, some at length on longer shows like this, or some like short bursts. And so I see entheogens the same way, and really things, plants, animals, trees, same thing. It's the relationship built over time. It's all really beautiful to me. And when you can understand, or when you perceive the plants have consciousness and engage with that consciousness, it's like meeting a new friend or a new personality that you are like regularly putting physiologically into your vessel, which creates a resonance and engagement. And then once you felt that, you can always tune into that, and then tune in any time soberly, which I remember after Aya and ever since Aya, when I go into, especially the next few weeks after, it's really still potent. Maybe it's still resonant in the body or in the cells in some way or whatever. But just tuning into her and meditating, it's very similar, not quite the same as it being an experience, but pretty close. And actually, other times have been pretty much, you get like fully taken over being in the experience again by intentionally connecting that frequency, maybe for a few moments, few minutes, or for a while. But yeah, okay. Geez, there's a lot of chat comments. Hey, Zach. Did I
Hey.
DMT? I said I came back. Zach. Did I DMT but no shrooms? Kind of did it backwards. I don't know, man. Everybody does it different. Totally does it different. I don't think that there's a backwards or a right way or a back way. I mean, really, I think you're probably better off if you have diversity of experience as a generality for the reasons I just said, but teach your own. I think sometimes we can idolize entheogenic experiences. This experience, and there's truth in that. There's truth in like if you prep yourself ritually, you can call it ritual, but I think Zach talked about this really well the other night. But you're just doing things. The more effort you put into preparing for something or focusing on it, putting energy and attention, and even Greg Braden and the Bruce Lipton and the neuroscience and Joe Dispenza, when you focus on something for 72 hours, your cells actually grow these protein antennas that give you an incredibly enhanced resonance to whatever it is that you're putting your focus and attention on. So if you prepare for things like Zach did for his ayahuasca experience for weeks or months or however long you were thoroughly, or years finding the right shaman, the right way and the right pathway for you and all those different dynamics, it helped to facilitate in his own consciousness and expectation that he was going to get everything he wanted and needed to get out of that, but in a deeply enhanced way because his physiology and neurology is more prepared for the experience. It's not just like, oh, I guess I'm doing Aya this Saturday, or, yeah, I got to sign up. We'll just see what happens, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just, for me, trying to have deeper relationship with these things, there's a lot of different ways to connect to them, and a lot of it just comes from diversity of experience, in my opinion.
And also, it's like choosing a car to go fucking drive somewhere. If you had a garage full of like every car in the world that ever existed, when you
Yeah.
walked in to go and grab some groceries or whatever, you wouldn't always drive a Lamborghini. Sometimes you want to drive your Range Rover. Other times you take a limo. Sometimes you take a nice BMW, something classy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't drive the same shit all the time, probably. And that's kind of the same
Yeah.
thing. Like, they're all just vehicles, really.
Really, really said psychedelics when I was younger. Always loved mushrooms. Yeah, people seem to have different experiences when they're younger. I've never engaged because I didn't engage psychedelics until my 30s, I guess. Now thinking about it, like my adulthood, and realistically, a little over a year ago, I've just had a lot of diversity of experience in that time. But I didn't have any experience. So going into it, I had a lot more awareness of what these things were for me as a personal engagement with them. It's not, I was never at a place where like I'm at a party and like, hey, let's eat some mushrooms. I did parties and stuff. I just wasn't around that dynamic. And so I just went into it a different way. So now when I want to enter into it to have fun in that dynamic, I know I can do that. Again, it's kind of like relationship. There's times you're having more serious conversation with friends or funny conversations, or it turns into a funny thing, right? So a lot of it's in that sense going with the flow or submitting to the experience too. And then just driving lots of different cars whenever you want to drive them. That one was fun. I'll drive that one again next Tuesday.
Yeah, regarding the breathing methods in here, certain types of, Wim Hof in a certain way is also kind of a format of holotropic breathing. Holotropic breathing done at length can definitely get you into some really weird states. Kriya breathing, where you're purposely enhancing or increasing rather the amount of CO2 or the disparity of CO2 and oxygen inside the brain, can definitely generate some psychedelic states. The same as psychedelics. I've never got to the same place where I've gotten with psychedelics with breathing, but definitely some places that were of great interest.
I think so. There's a video that we found, I came across, and we posted and was posted around the Fearless group and other places and talked about on the show. But there's a video of a guy doing DMT breathing, and get into the physiology of it. It's doing breathing in a way that's creating the maximum release of DMT in a condensed form in your lungs through breathing. Rogan talks about it on his show and whatever, but this guy does this breathing technique and puts him into a DMT-esque space. Now, I think it seems to me the difference is you're not as saturated. If you're doing your lungs thing to a super indefinite amount, but I don't know the quantity is the same as taking 3 hits or even a couple hits. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like taking 1 hit or a smaller hit, and you get that you're feeling
which is
the DMT.
A fucking terrible measurement.
No shit, I don't know. Most people, I feel like I know because people like really stick hard and fast to the 3-hit thing. I'm like, dude, it's not quite like that at all. Like, there's so many ways.
I guarantee you, if someone came and did DMT with me my way, there ain't no way they're taking 3 fucking hits.
Well, you said I had no fucking idea dabbing DMT was a thing. Like that. That sounds awesome.
You dab it in a quartz banger and fucking take like 1/4 of a gram in 1 hit. I assure you, you are definitely not taking 3 of them. You'd be lucky if you can still see the pipe before I pull it out of your hands. It ain't happening. There's no way.
Next time I come down there, I think we did salvia, and that turned into a whole episode on Pants Hallway and like other shit, and we did other great shit. We were there, had fun with Lucinda and Lucy. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't find out about it's like the last day or two, but definitely we're gonna have to do that for sure.
Yeah, the kind of methodology with like the glass vapor genies are basically smoking it like an amphetamine, or well, really like a methamphetamine. Amphetamine, you gotta do other stuff, but nevertheless, smoking it where you're basically burning it like an oil or an incense or something like that, where it's inside of basically a bulb and you heat the bulb up and this kind of thing. That's kind of like the old way of doing it. You know, you could take a dab that way too if you wanted to. You just stick the oil in the bottom of there and then you heat it until it gets to the vapor temp and then you suck the vapor out of there. It just would be really hard to get a really good dab. Taking a hit of DMT, any alkaloid that is extracted can be dabbed, of course. It's just a really high intake method, right? Like you're vaporizing it quickly. I mean, you don't have to be quickly. Realize like if you get the right temps and shit, you can kind of slow burn it. But really with DMT, since you're really trying to get as much of it into the brain at the same amount of time as possible, it's really best to bring it up to basically just underneath the point where it's going to burn. And so you hit it like as hot as you can without actually fucking up the molecule. And then it vaporizes the maximum amount. You make sure that you're actually capping that so that you're getting, again, the maximum amount of vapor amount, the minimal amount of oxygen being pulled through, and then you can pull back a significantly larger amount, significantly more than needed for threshold dose. I assure you, you could take like a 0.5 gram if you really wanted to. There's just no fucking reason. There's no reason. Realize that 1/4 gram is like 4 times threshold dose. That's why I say there's not a fucking chance that you're still going to be in this reality. It ain't happening.
Yeah.
So you're way, way, way gone. Way gone. So, it's arguable that this like, I mean, I don't recommend these kinds of experiences to just anybody. Don't even touch DMT unless it's very like really actually calling you. Don't do it because you have some drive, or really any psychedelic because you feel like it's a cool thing to do, or like everybody else said you should do it. Just fucking wait. Like life is the greatest psychedelic ever. And psychedelics are just another format of life. But your standard day-to-day life can be perceived as an extremely psychedelic reality. Psychedelics, just literally psychedelia, just means to make the mind present. Your mind's always being made present. So if you feel called to, utilize a vehicle like a cannabis, or maybe it's even alcohol or a psychedelic or something like that, then by all means experience the vehicle. But don't go and drive a car just because everybody else is driving a car. Maybe you prefer to ride a bike.
Yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense. I guess they use the car analogy too, just because you're doing it because everybody else does it, and then you get in the car and you realize it's stick shift, and
you realize you just wrapped that motherfucker around a tree.
Yeah, yep. And then we gain from every experience. Like if you've already done these things, I mean, there's like, okay, something. Here's a personal gripe, and then we'll get to Don's question. When people say they had a bad experience, or they got hyper slapped or some shit, I think that's so low resolution. Like, really? What do you mean? Well, it's just really bad. It was really intense. Okay, what do you mean? Please elaborate. And most of the time, like even as they recount the story, when I've talked to different people, they get new layers of meaning out of it. Like, oh, maybe it wasn't just telling me not to come back. That's just how we take it. Like I got slapped by mom or dad, or I don't know, somebody, and all right, I guess I shouldn't go back there. Maybe you should find out why the fuck you got slapped, instead of just assuming you're bad, or I shouldn't have done it, I get it. There's sometimes people have entities or interactions they feel like are the psyche or something saying, not to do it or you're done now. Or there's like, it's more, a lot of that's me based on feeling and interaction. It's just when it feels right to engage, I engage, and so, and if it doesn't feel right, I don't, or if something comes up or whatever. Sometimes you run to slugs, slug consciousness, unexpectedly. That shit happens too. Please refer to episode 10, Safe for Sacred Space, part 2. We get into a slug conscious meditation and all that will make far more sense. Yeah, so anyway, I think there's a lot too, that whole psycho slap thing. I think it's important for people, any experience, the good, the bad, whatever you want to call them. Any experience is just an experience. I've even more intense. I've had a lot of pretty traumatic, physiologically traumatic experiences on entheogens because of my own. I know what's going on in me, so I'm not freaking out. Like there's times I've seized through DMT, and I mean probably half a dozen times, right? But I know what's happening. I can feel energy moving through my body. I can feel myofascial release on a massive level. So there's ways to do myofascial release, body work, and things. Float tanks are great. I mean, I'll lay in a float tank, and my body will just twitch in different places. And it's your myofascial tissue, and you're in a zero G state, and you're able to calm your mind too. Your body will literally just start releasing trauma and energy, and especially in the highly the Himalayan salt, or the salt water, and the magnesium that's in there. It's very similar to your cerebral spinal fluid. So it's very easy to pass through that conductive tissue just through your skin to balance out those energies, to neutralize things. So Frank Paul, we're talking a lot about the foot bath, which we had. I got that and had it shipped to California, and we all used it in California. I think most of us used the bath at least once, and then use that several times. But it's moving frequencies in that are moving other frequencies out, and it's also physiological. Parasites and other shit too can come out, and that's just through purging. You may never see it or feel it. A lot of them are microscopic. They'll just pass them. So as long as people freak out, you're still going to see that. I personally like to see those things, so I find ways when I know that's coming out to find them. But yeah, so anyway, there's a lot to be learned from any experience, and being able to go back and see it from additional perspectives helps integrate those things, good or bad or ugly. Sometimes the bad causes a trauma and we don't want to think about it or whatever, but then that just pushes it away. Something to be processed. It was an experience that you had, and dissociating from it won't ultimately benefit you. But there are times I've had experiences, this is the last thing, I've had experiences where I just realized, like the slug thing, for example, and I talked about Zach the next day and whatever, and we didn't know exactly what it was. We knew, I assessed what I could about it. It didn't seem malevolent, but it was definitely our consciousnesses were clashing. I mean, my body wasn't able to handle whatever this frequency was, this thing. So I just shelved the trauma in a sense, like, because it was traumatic to my body, and I didn't have a meaning for it yet. I don't know why that happened. I don't know exactly what I experienced. My mind isn't able to rationalize or figure out what to do with that energy, or in some way, because it happened to my body, and it's like figuring it out. And so I just kind of shelf it, dissociate in the sense, like, we're not going to embody this trauma. It happened. We know we're not ignoring it, but we don't have enough information yet to deal with it. So let's shift it like out of my body in a sense here. And then when I understood 2 days later, this whole slug meditation and like all of it made sense. And I realized I encountered it on the front end. And like, then I was able to reintegrate that experience, but without the trauma associated, because it made sense. That was funny. It was lighthearted. It was beautiful. Now I can take that experience. It all makes sense now, and then seep that into my body. Something like that. Oops. All right. Let's see. Question way back up here. Don said, I go to places at night and I've seen, but more felt some of you in the Aya realm. A bit shy here, but I got comfort vibes to ask. And can you on Aya see those that aren't, but can see and feel you? Okay, so I think I grasped what you're getting from the question, and I thank you for asking. I'm glad you feel safe to ask, because that's a beautiful question, I think, in this room, and the people in this room, and me and Zach, and yeah, beautiful. And also knowing, Don, that you haven't had actual experiences with entheogens in this life. You just have these sober experiences. So to me, it's Aya is a morphogenic field, a resonance of consciousness. So you can enter it through meditation, like I said earlier. It's easier in a sense for a lot of people once you felt it in your body, because there's a feeling throughout your body in different ways, and your experiences that you're having, you can tune back into that whole physiological feeling. So it just makes it easier to tune in. But I definitely, in any consciousness really, can be tuned into and connected with. So if you're doing it at night, unconsciously or not consciously, or even intentionally, and seeing folks from, some of us in here in Aya, that's beautiful. A lot of us have done ayahuasca, so we've been a part of her realm physiologically in this life, this avatar, not just our soul even, but this being, so that all that makes sense to me. I think that's really, really cool. I think, and on Aya too, that's been a very common experience, group telepathy or group connection on a different way. I've only done Aya 3 times, and so my experiences weren't quite like that. That's also something I'll be doing more often in the near future. So yeah, you have any thoughts, Zach?
Okay, so going on from what she said there, like, are they segmented realms?
Gotcha.
Consciousness is a continuum with a lot of different spaces. Your standard format of experience could be understood as ordinary consciousness. Sleep astral travel, psychedelics, all kinds of other various things like this. They're functionally just non-ordinary states of consciousness, but they are still states of consciousness, and they are functionally just one big continuum. So, I mean, I've had a lot of dreams in my past that after then having certain kinds of experiences, like for instance ayahuasca, that you mentioned here, where I then reference back to that dream, and I'm like, wow, that was a pretty ayahuasca-esque dream, right?
Mm.
So really, the at the core of all of this is that they're not segmented realms. Everything's just really just one big continuum. So crossover is abundant, really.
And then a matter of where, well, I mean, where you're placing your focus and your consciousness and your awareness, what to tune into. Although dreams,
Especially when we
that's where it's,
sleep, we
yeah.
slip off into a place where there's. I think that if we understood how much exchanging of data and moving around and stuff was there, maybe we wouldn't be so comfortable about going to sleep. But at the same time, we don't have any reason to fear that space. We've never feared it before. Nothing's gone wrong so far, so we certainly shouldn't start like fearing it now. But there's just a lot going on there that we're functionally not conscious of, right? Like there's a lot of
Right.
we don't know about it here. We don't understand sleep and dreams and stuff really very well. We've done a lot of dream analysis, and there has been a lot of work to understanding why and how it's happening. But the consensus at the end of it is that really, at the end of the day, we don't really understand it. We understand little parts of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
One and dreams on that matter. I mean, my experience and my understanding, that dreams are also, if you think about telepathy, any of that stuff, it just exists outside of our physical interaction. But I don't see any different than Wi-Fi or fields that are created, or fields that are there to traverse or across and connect. But we haven't been taught that there's frequencies outside the radio wave spectrum that we can tune into ourselves and into other people. So as we learn to all tune into like a CB radio, I guess, on some inside of us on this bandwidth or whatever that just normally hasn't been accessed for because we haven't been told to. So that's where practicing other people, you can learn to hone into that frequency that you're making together to connect. Whatever it is, 67.83257763 or whatever. That's the finding. And I guess as you get closer, like on a radio dial, it seems that the static will go. You start to hear a voice or something, but it's staticky. Catch a few words, maybe. And then you really can slow down and dial in and get just that perfect resonance. They're coming to coherence, and then there's clarity of interaction, not just maybe words, but thoughts, feelings, all those different dynamics. And then so anyway, so dreams, small tangent. So dreams that are dreaming realms are affected by dreaming grids within which you sleep. The room, the vortex you make in your own room, the different things you'll do for your own placebo belief catalyst and your own subconscious belief in what you're doing and setting intention. Again, putting just your focus and intention before you go to bed. So there's so many different things, ways you can do it. And personally, I shift through a lot of them at different times, but the one I've used for a while that I still really appreciate is I have 4 different stuffed animals at the 4 different corners of my bed that all have different meanings because of the type of animal or whatever. I've had prayers and things I've written down there for protection around my bed and things I put on each corner of the bed. I'll use Palo Santo or incense or something every night before I go to bed and cleanse the area. We've got different crystals, but really it's like, to me, like all those are just things that I've added and they make me happy too. It's like the biggest thing. When I sit down and know they're there, it makes me happy that I put time into that it matters to me where I'm going to sleep, that I'm not going to be intercepted by, different energetic and Masonic grids that they've gridded throughout the cities and through the power lines that potentially hamper and keep you trapped in realms and dreaming realms that you don't fully get to connect to soul family or to yourself. So being able to set your own sacred space inside of yourself, and that really don't need the external things. But again, you don't need to buy fancy crystals. You don't need to buy things. Like stuffed animals, man, or rock or whatever. Something means something to you. You're extending more of your sovereignty, the things that bring you joy in your waking time and in your nighttime, like ridding out that morphogenic and just living realm around where you sleep. So.
Yep. I don't really think other things can actually stop you. That's the only place where I would deviate from your claim right there. I mean, these Masonic grids and all this stuff like that. This does not hinder you unless you have belief that it hinders
Correct.
you. So,
Correct.
and there's no reason to give yourself that belief. Like why? What how is it benefiting you to have that belief that you're disempowered by something outside of you, or that it even has the potential of hampering what you're doing? You know,
Right.
like
Well, I mean, it'd be well, the
it's
same
just
thing. It's something that, I mean, my experience is like chemtrails. It's something that is, but ultimately it doesn't matter. I mean, there's a lot of things you could focus on about how all the shit going on in the world that people don't know, and like you could prove it and whatever, but how does it benefit them? If it's going to cause fear or just cause misbelief or any of that dynamic. So even just because they don't need stuffed animals or anything. If you just know you and where you're going, and you set your intentions, and like what Zach knows incredibly well, and that whole dynamic way beyond anything I know, in the focus states and dreaming and lucid dreaming and dream seeding and all these things. Zach's got tons of information on that. Which sounds like, so you've been doing that and dreaming intentionally for a long time, whereas I think maybe a lot of people haven't been. They haven't even given they just go to bed. You know, they don't even think twice about
yeah.
not just dream seeding, but whatever their actual energetic environment around them is, or in any regard. So, but the more you're aware of that, the more you, you know, what's spiritual hygiene or just your own internal awareness of self. You know, that's just my personal bed at home. Like I don't really set any of that shit up anywhere else I go. Just kind of, I mean, I kind of do whatever comes to me in the moment. It makes me happy. It smells good. I just like, you know, it settles my nervous system. It's more about me
Sure.
and knowing that I'm settling into me. So I have no worries about my dreams or any of that shit. It is what it is. I worry
Well, one
about
of the
smoking
most
too much
important
THC and not
things about
remembering my dreams.
getting to deeper focus states is allowing yourself to detach from the focus state of this basically physical reality. So if putting things around you help you feel more physically comfortable, or I personally, the Monroe technology utilizes basically the idea of a box that you place your stuff into. But if that doesn't do enough for you psychologically to let you go, maybe you do need to do some other things to clean your space. Maybe that's just the reason why you're continuing to stay attached to that. And if you need to do that stuff, that's fine. But it's not actually necessary. Like it's not
Right,
needed for the function per se. It might be needed for
right.
you to do that function, and then it's fine. Like it doesn't matter what way you're supposed to do it. It matters what way it ends up working. You know, you gotta. It's
Yeah,
all really just about doing things that you actually enjoy.
right.
So
Well, that's where so many of my rituals, if you will, just change times and seasons of my life. Is if I'm not enjoying it, I'm never doing something. It's like, ugh, well, I know I got to do this. You know, if I do, there's a problem. Like, or we reassess that dynamic for, especially for my own personal rituals. This isn't like some written thing that I have to repeat to recreate the morphogenic field that's been passed on for hundreds of years because this ritual's been repeated. Like, this is all ideas from other places, ideas just in the moment or in my own dynamic that make sense and they're coherent. And so if it's making me happy and having fun, then awesome. It's working.
yeah, if you're feeling bliss or joy inside of yourself, you're not too far off the path. I mean, pretty much any time. So you know,
Yeah, it's a pretty good indicator.
it's the easiest way to navigate is just try to stay in that state. And there's lots of things that can be sculpted inside of our life. That's why I'm so happy to be as aligned as I am right now. There's not anything in my life at this point in time that's pulling me away from basically the alignment or the space that I want to be in. And realize that's not something that happened overnight for me. I've been doing the work, as they like to call it, for a long time on specifically this 10 years specifically. My mom died of cancer with me holding her hand, and I basically took a complete different responsibility over my life at that point in time. And ever since that point, I've been moving versions of myself or things that I feel that I need to do out of the way or aligning them more. And finally now, after like 10 years, I feel like I'm in like a really good place with that. And it's I've but it has not been a quick task by any stretch of the imagination. There's been multiple different girlfriends, a ton of different houses, a couple of dogs,
Mm.
like fucking 15 different states, like all kinds of weird different stuff inside of there. Like it's been a whole big long, decade long human journey. And it's just always been completely guided towards I'm not going to let anything stand in the way of me living in the reality that I want to live in anymore. And I'm not going to give it that power over myself. I'm going to figure out how I still have the power. I'm going to take responsibility for ensuring that my life is the way that I want it to be. And now it has gotten to that point. So it can be navigated too. It's going to take some time. I was not sitting on top of it when I navigated towards it or when I started navigating towards it. In fact, I was sitting at a point in my life where I'm like pretty much saying, okay, so my entire life just went in the fucking shithole. Okay, like realize at that point in time, like my mom was still my roommate. I lived at my mom's house. when my
Mm.
mom died. Like, we were best friends. She was basically my spiritual guide up until that point in time. She was a person I loved most in the world at that point in time, even beyond myself. I had no idea how to love myself. The only
Mm.
format of love that I really did know was this kind of intrinsic, natural love that I couldn't really explain at all. There was this bond that was put together with myself and my mom. And I had realized for a long time already at that point in time, like, my mom is going to die, and like, that's the thing I'm gonna have to deal with. And I was like petrified, scared of it when I first noticed this, like 7 years before that point in time. But nevertheless, that allowed me the time to prepare so that I could be the person I wanted to be in the moment. But as soon as that moment had passed, immediately I was like, all right, so it's all on you now, Zach. Like, you have no more bailouts. My mom was my only bailout. Like, I don't ask my dad to bail me out. Other people were never bailing me out. My mom
Mm.
was my only bailout. But now she was gone, so it's 100% like, Zach, it's on your shoulders. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like, you got the ball. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And luckily, I was like, not what they've been telling me to do. That's for sure. Still
Right.
not doing that. I'm going to go do something completely different. I basically completely abandoned the house that I had there. And basically had a pile inside of it in the middle of the living room with all the stuff that I didn't want to take with me. I took all the
Mm.
stuff that I did want. I put it into a storage shed. It was about like a half of a 10 by 10 unit. Was everything that I wanted out of the house. I packed the other stuff that I wanted to take with me and a couple of things I had bought into my Toyota 4Runner, and I basically fucked off to go live in the desert of southern Utah and northern Arizona until it got too hot and I figured out something else to do. You know what I mean? But because I had no idea what I was doing with my life. The only thing that I knew was that, okay, I have one thing that's tapping me into joy right now, and it's the idea of going and climbing rocks. So fuck it.
Mm.
I'm going and climbing rocks all the time until I figure out
Mm.
something else that will also be joyful. And then I found photography, and then I found videography, and then I found video editing, and then, like, I was still in love with music at that point in time, and the interface of music with that. Moving forward from that, I like, climbing became this huge thing with me. The
Mm.
interface that I had with other people through climbing, through teaching people climbing and learning from people who are just like phenomenal at climbing, and the engagement that I had with myself with that, like, all of these things emerged to continually just take me to completely different places, and they were all focused around like, what sounds like a good idea next, including like the movement of my location.
Yeah.
Like, where am I going to be located? Well, it looks like it's getting hot here, but I checked the weather and it looks like Orangeville, Utah is looking solid for a couple weeks. Let's head up there. And so we'd go up there, and then maybe we'd end up there for 2 months or 3 months, or maybe it was only for like 4 days. It really didn't
Yeah.
matter. We just went wherever sounded like it was a good idea to go. And people will say like, "Oh, well, you can't do this. Like, I don't have the money to do that." Da, 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 da. I was spending somewhere in the neighborhood of like $500 per month doing that. So it's less than you're spending on rent. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
right now. It's
Yeah.
probably less than you're spending on food. So if you're saying that there's a fiscal blockade to doing that, it's inaccurate. There is not a fiscal
Mm.
blockade to doing that. Your approach to
Mhm.
it is inaccurate. There's not a You're not going after it the right way. So it can be very, very cheap. It's less accessible now than it was then for a whole lot of reasons, but it's still something that a person can do if they're just, they're not feeling the place where they're at. That's all I knew. I just knew where I'm at right now. Tri-Cities, Washington. I sure as hell don't want to be here. I'm going somewhere that I want to be. And where it
Mhm.
sounds cool right now is, southern Utah with some rocks. And well, actually, when I was leaving, it was just like one of the places I was going to go. I just started going down like the coast, and
Yeah.
then through the redwoods for a little while, and through Yosemite, and through, like Kings National Monument. And next thing I knew, I was over by like Death Valley. And then I was like, well, St. George, Utah's not that far away. I heard they got some
Yeah.
boulders and stuff. I guess we'll head over there. And, it was really
Yeah.
just like by the seat of my pants. But the point
Yeah.
is that it's all about following joy. It took 10 years of following the joy before I got to a place where I'm like, all right, cool, my whole life is joy. But that says that it's doable. That's all that
Yeah. Come on,
matters.
man. Fuck
It's
yeah.
doable. You know how
Yeah.
much funner the last 10 years of my life was than
Mhm.
all the ones before that? Like a
Yeah.
thousand times funner, really on.
Yeah.
And I had a pretty fun childhood. I didn't really have any rules, and I kind of did whatever the fuck I wanted. It was still a lot funner over the last 10 years when I was taking responsibility for myself. And with that responsibility, I was choosing to carve the path that I actually really wanted to choose, that I actually really wanted to
Mhm.
carve. I look back over those 10 years and I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, you made fucking good decisions. I don't
Yeah, man.
question that shit. I don't have regret over anything in the last 10 years of my life. I look at every single
Yeah.
decision. I'm like, that was the fucking great choice. Great
Yeah.
job. And it's not because I like suddenly crack some code or I have a fucking 300 IQ or something like that. It's literally just because I was like, what do I actually want to do next? What do I actually want to be doing? That's all I
Yeah.
have to follow. I don't follow some guru, no plant, no psychedelic needed to tell me that. I didn't have a connection with the aliens. I had a connection with my fucking self, and I tried to fall in love with me, and it
Yeah.
worked. And it'll work for you too, because you do love yourself. You love yourself more than you love everybody else. And that's actually what sets the limit for how much you can love anybody else. And that's like one
Yep.
of my core theses and one of my core messages. And it's close to 2 hours. So I'm actually going to be done with that because I love my quote. Love yourself, man. You love you more than you love anybody else. And you set the limit case for the amount that you can exchange that love with somebody else. You learn to love yourself infinitely, like the infinite being of love that you actually are. You will find that that's an infinitely cultivatable resource. And you can buy anything you want with it. You can literally buy things you cannot imagine. I love all of you. I love you very much, especially Aaron. You have been a force of very wonderful change and a puzzle piece that really kind of completed a bit of a puzzle. And like, I don't even know what puzzle we're doing at this point in time. I'm pretty sure I'm making up a puzzle at this point in time, and it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. So I really appreciate the influence that you've had on in my life. Everybody that's new here tonight, please join us every night, 8 o'clock or whenever you can. We got replays all the time. We got a big old community here, as you've already seen. It's not as big as we want it to be, but it's growing, and you can help it grow because you're a wonderful person, and we're all going to love everything here. And regardless of what's happening in the rest of the world, we're creating an entirely new reality, and we're probably just going to jump timelines into one that works better. So I love you guys, and I'm going to peace out. Bye, Aaron.
Bye, Zach. All right. And I see everybody's still super in the chat. So I don't really want to just end it because you guys are chatting, and I really appreciate the community dynamic. So I can riff for a little bit. Isn't Zach wonderful? Let's talk about Zach now. Zach's gone. Let's talk about Zach. Let's talk about these nice things about Zach. Zach is awesome. Zach said everything he said to me. I feel very much the same way about him. It's been a really cool bromance and just connection. We've been doing the show for 47. No, it's episode 46. Yeah, 46. Maybe I thought the 46 was last night. Maybe Zach forgot to change the episode number. We'll have to change it in post. It's been really cool. And Zach was saying too about like so he's really, just seems even more so in the last few days, like really sunk into the follow your joy thing, which is awesome. Right. And we've talked about that a lot. And conceptually he agrees with it. That's been his core thing for a while, but like a whole new level of that, whatever that means, right? Hold on again, let's see. How'd you guys meet Aaron? There's lots of love for Zach. Zach, love you. Peace out, Zach. Love you, Zach. All caps. Sasha's yelling. And then how'd you guys meet? Wait, is this talking about me and Zach? So Zach actually, and so funny, Sasha says that we met through Fearless, and I think I met Zach through Fearless also. Zach, I think that's initially where he saw me. So Nate, you guys haven't met Nate yet. Nate's an incredible human being, and he's my coworker. And last year we started working together, and he rode with me. We rode together for like 5 or 6 days a week for, I don't know, most of the summer. And we did videos like in between jobs and stuff. We did tons of videos in the Fearless group. It was awesome. And so I think Zach saw me in there and then just contacted me a little bit. We chatted in the summer sometime. It was cool. And then we just never really connected too much after that. And then we reconnected after I got back from my trip with Angela. So early April. And then we just started talking about a lot of things, a lot of different life things. We were really connecting. We were talking about wanting to do the show. I've been wanting to do it for like a year and a half. And I've had the channel up for, I think I posted it, made official in September. But I've got like, before we started the show, I've got like, I don't know, 10 other videos, like vlog videos or things I put up. There's actually videos of me and Nate. There's quite a few. So you can really actually get a really good feel for Nate. I think I forget which number it is now, but metaphors are enlightenment is what I called it. And Nate and I both talk about metaphors and things, and really, really cool. So anyway, so Zach and I started talking about wanting to do this podcast stuff. We were originally going to start a channel in Twitch called 2 Guys, 1 Chat, because we were talking about doing it every night. And so we thought Twitch would be a better format for that than YouTube, and create different audience and different things. But as we developed it, we're just like, fuck it, we've got expanded understanding. He's ISN, let's just do it on the channel and let's just do it. Like, all right, yeah, sounds good, let's do it. So that started April 20 something. Yeah, it started 47 days ago. That's when it started, and that's how we met. So Fearless Family, yes, it's Frank Castle. Fearless Family. We started this video. If we replay this video, you'll see the intro. We ended up streaming. I think it was music at the beginning, and then we ported over Frank's show until it ended, and then through our show. And then we started a show because we're all family, man. I was in this chat for the whole show, the whole time leading up to our show, because it's just, it's beautiful. We're all family. We're all friends. I've seen Frank flown out and met Frank twice in the last year, and Frank Paula. I love Paula. Frank's like the older brother I never had. He's fucking great. Like, we've gotten along in ways that we didn't grow up together, totally different cultures, right? And we get along way better than you should, I guess, in that dynamic. Same with Angela. Angela's the older sister I've never had. She's from Glastonbury. And yeah, man, it's cool. The meeting family outside of family has been really profound and beautiful and wonderful. Let's see. Aaron and Angela. Yeah. Both A's. Let's see. Before the podcast. Just has respect for my truth team, late mom. I have not had any account on Facebook, my loss, but thank you for my truth team, late mom. I'm not quite sure that dynamic of it, but it's okay if you don't have Facebook, because look, you're in the chat on here, and I think we're trying multiple ways to have communities. We've done before, and we could do that tonight if you guys want at some point here. There's an after party-esque thing. We're using the Facebook rooms thing that started. Will figured it out last time, and so whoever's left in the chat by the end of this, we'll always do after parties and the Facebook chat stuff too. So it's a cool way to continue community, because it's just a chat, really, if we're gonna do a podcast thing, we'd probably end the podcast when Zach left. That's perfect. And then this is just kind of for community, which I think is fucking beautiful. So I'm happy to hold space in that way and engage with you guys, because you guys are awesome. Let's see. To be with you all there. Well, maybe I'm trying to think of a way to, I don't know, maybe have a friend open a Facebook account for you or something. Do it that way. Geez, Sasha. Paula is amazing, Lexi. It's true. Let's encourage Paula to start her own show. I agree. She can do her own show on Frank's channel, do their own thing. But Frank's channel has been usually Frank's channel. Even Frank we were talking about having Frank do a show on this channel too, because we've already got, for those who don't know, we have 4 other shows besides this on the channel. So we have Jen, that's on every night. Zach's a long-term girlfriend, an amazing, incredible human being, and she plays the flute most shows and sings bowls, but she just has tons of wisdom to share and experience, and it's wonderful. Most half the people in the chat now are in her show regularly as well. It's every day at 5 p.m. Pacific, and she's been going for almost 3 weeks now. And then excuse me, and then we have Angela started a show 1 p.m. Pacific on Mondays, women's work, and so you can meet Angela, and she does her own show there. And then Carla does a show, last time it was Tuesday at 2 p.m. But it could be, I think that one might be more sporadic because she's living nomadic, and that rhymes. But that'll be a regular show. Excuse me. And then Holly will be starting a show soon called Fuck That Noise. And Holly's show and Carla's show is similar kind of to Jen's and Angela's, but it's her own flavor. It's a totally different thing, which is cool, because really you resonate with who you resonate with. So me and Zach have no ego over if we get people in here initially, but then they just end up only watching these other shows, that's fine. It's not about that. I mean, really, it's on the channel, so it helps everything, but it's just helping build the community. And so it's cool with the show, people coming on doing their shows. It's really, if we want to help people, and we're vetting people in that way, but really these are people we've just known in the community. Yeah, they're already vetted. Oh, they want to do a show too? Great. Awesome. We can provide a platform, and there's ways to, create your own backgrounds and things, have your own show like ours, the Expand Understanding at the top of the screen, and the other stuff, doing that for their shows too. So they have their own content. They can get the video, break it up, and do whatever they want with it also. So, and all that's free. It's just time and passion, just wanting to do that for whatever it is. If you wanted to show it dancing, like Robert Hawley stuff. Did an interview with Angela today, which was wonderful. Cannot wait to have him on the show. And I had an idea today. I might start doing, because Frank did an interview with Chrissy? Hold on, let me clear my throat. Drink some water here. They just did an interview through her Facebook page, right? And I was like, huh, I could probably do just like interviews with like Frank or different people or Angela or whatever, or just like a conversation, not an interview, a conversation. Really casual. Like Frank, we talk about some of the stuff going on in the Bronx, like the riot stuff, but it'll get into the other stuff that we talk about in community and self-healing and like that'll be natural. But the interesting dynamic is that's so my just Facebook page, right? And that was something like some with Robert Holly or something. That's a cool way to do, I don't know, to connect with people in a different dynamic than the show. But then also the show too, for sure. But I'm just thinking about other ways to connect with people more often that just seem joyful to me. It seems like fun. Let's see, Frank and Paula take care of you like champs, big hearts and knowledge. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking familial dynamics here, I feel like, well, she said grandma loves you in the show to me, right? Because we have that dynamic, Paula, grandma, and that's not an insult at all. Like the wisdom in grandma and the care, like, you know, my grandma this last year or so, I've spent a lot more time with her. She's moved in with my parents, and I've been over there and hanging out a lot. And I've had a lot of conversations. And she said to me one time, she goes, you know, I don't understand a lot of what you're saying, but I really like how happy you are when you say it. You know, it's like, I love that. So that's cool, man. And like, and Paula's on it too. Paula gets all this stuff too, but that heart, you know, very much Paula. Paula loves everyone. Paula's my favorite. You're welcome for the invitation. The cats protected us during an eye experience. Yes, isn't that cool? Cats are very interdimensional. An experience with some friends out here, and they had a skinless cat, and that cat ended up having 7 different heads and different shapes and colors and energies, and like it was just a moment during the experience. It was DMT, and the cat was just doing its thing, and at one moment it just turned and looked at me, and all this stuff, right? And then it just went back to being a cat. That was cool. Let's see. Fuck that noise, love it. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. So in the Holly show, will be more about she's super smart, super cool chick. I've spent a lot of time talking with her this last 6 months, really, and she's just really, really smart, really loves helping people in neurology and practical things, and so and very, very just, and she's funny, man, witty. So all of her stuff's innuendo based. She makes her own like infographic stuff regularly. She's got a group. I'm trying to think, is that what the group's called? No, the show's Fuck That Noise. What's her group called? Erecting Handsome Habits on Facebook. And so she's doing great. She's going to do her own thing. It'll be totally different too. She wants to do like a half an hour show once a week, and she's going to have, I don't know, it'll be cool. I think I'm going to co-host her with her at first. She's still looking for a co-host. So if that's something you're interested in, or check it out, I think I'm going to do it with her for a little bit till she gets a groove on her own, or another co-host comes in. So it'll be fun. It'll be a great way to cross all the shows and build more there. So, and then we're talking about Frank and Paula, talking about them doing some kind of show, whatever they want to do at whatever time they want to do it. You know, it's cool, man. It's great in the community. It's a platform. It's fucking great. All right, great. Let's see. And coherence, love, unity, knowledge, beauty. Okay, and that is just right in the comments. So, if the comments are dying down, I'll properly wrap up the show for tonight. And then maybe I'll get, what's 10:10? Okay, so 10:10. There is a ancient scripture that says that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I, you, self, Christ within, come that you might have life, and life to the full of joy. And that's, so what a good way to end the show. And we're at almost 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I think I'm going to sign off here and say I love you guys very, very, very much. It's a beautiful thing we're building. It's really, really cool to connect with all you guys as if we're just hanging out in a room, because we kind of are, you know. And from room to room to room, different groups, different things. It's really, really beautiful. So, love you guys very, very much. Let's see. Love you, give opportunities for others to share and expand. Expanded understanding. So that there's a quote I came up with, I think it's at the top of my Facebook page even. I was just thinking about it like last year or whatever, but expanding our understanding creates foundations upon the